Okay, we are here for the Battle of the Platforms and Protocols panel. So we got a great group of people here. Let's give it a round for the challengers. Yeah. You know, I think that there are so many platforms and protocols that the IoT space is incredibly confusing. What is a poor entrepreneur to do with all of these great choices from all of these great companies? You know, it's kind of like that thing where, you know, platforms and protocols are so important. That's why we have so many of them to choose from. So I think this panel is going to explore some of the very important factors, which is, you know, what platforms should I choose? What protocol should I go with? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? And, you know, I'm going to actually take off these gloves so I'm not at a severe disadvantage as we start this challenging round. What I'd like to do is actually introduce the panelists. And we have Dr. Saksena.
Hello.
And, yeah. Dr. Saksena is the Senior Director of Technology and Marketing in the Internet of Things business unit at Marvell Semiconductor. And in this role, he is responsible for Marvell's EasyConnect wireless microcontroller platforms that are powering the IoT devices developed and brought to market by many leading OEMs and innovative startups. And then we also have Geetha Dabir, who is Vice President of the Internet of Things Group and General Manager of the Application Ready Platforms at Intel. And Geetha is responsible for delivering IoT platform and solutions as horizontal ingredients for Intel partners. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
We also have John Mathon, who is the Vice President of Enterprise Evangelism at WSO2, and previously as founder of TiEcon software and inventor of the publish-subscribe paradigm, John helped establish TiEcon as the leading middleware provider in the world. John. All right. And we also have Janish Varia, who joined Amazon Web Services as a technology evangelist in 2006, right when AWS first announced its fantastic Amazon S3 service, which my company uses. I know countless companies use that, and we build our whole business around that. It's really fabulous. And so Janesh is now currently focused on how next generation connected devices can leverage the cloud as a platform and help entrepreneurs take advantage of AWS's innovative services in the Internet of Things space. Please welcome him. And then finally we have my friend and platinum sponsor, Marc Naddell, who is the Vice President of MediaTek Labs, and Marc leads the global team in creating an ecosystem for MediaTek, including programs that provide development resources, product information, and support for third-party developers such as makers and partners who are creating the next generation of innovative wearable devices, applications, and Internet of Things products for enterprise and consumer opportunities. And prior to joining MediaTek, Marc held key leadership positions at Navtech, Nokia, and Motorola, where he led innovation and drove ecosystem initiatives by launching developer and partner programs and new wireless and software-based products and patented new technologies. Please welcome Marc Naddell.
Thank you.
All right. So I do have the ability to take audience questions. I've prepared a number of them already, but if you text to this phone number at the bottom of the slide, and you text just the keyword A1, and then you will be led through another I think you get another text which says, do you want to ask a question or do you want to rate this panel? And then you pick one or two, and then you can choose to ask a question, and I should see it on this tablet, hopefully. So why don't, if any of you have any questions, you can kind of think about those and take out your smartphone and text, but why don't I just kick off with a pretty easy question for my esteemed panelists, which is what platforms and protocols does your company offer, and why should somebody select them for IoT? We'll start at the end here.
Sure. This work? Cool. So is the game match on?
Yes,
Right.
we're on. Ding!
I guess I'm the odd man out here. I'm on the cloud side, and everybody else is our partner. So it's kind of cool to be here as well. So thank you. I'm humbled and privileged to be here. So how many people are AWS customers in this room? Okay, cool. AWS provides cloud computing services for almost all businesses and all sizes. We are focused primarily on the startups, small businesses, and enterprises that leverage massive compute, massive storage, massive analytics on top of the cloud infrastructure that AWS provides today. AWS has a variety of different compute, storage, networking, database, NoSQL, no RDS databases that kind of focuses developers and businesses to build and scale their businesses from zero to any number of customers they would have. Especially from the IoT side, we look at from the angle of multiple different ways, as in any device can connect to the cloud securely, regardless of a platform, OS, or protocol of anything. So whether you are on the local protocol side, an 802.15.4 side, or whether you are having an ability or going on the IP protocol side, which is MQTT, HTTP, and so forth, you should be able to connect your device and leverage the value of the cloud, send the data to the cloud, get it analyzed, managed, processed, and visualize that data in a more interesting way. So when we think about IoT, we think about two things. You're getting data in the cloud with connectivity, with basic connectivity that you might have. And then once you have the data in the cloud, what can you do with it? Whether you can leverage the massive data warehousing services, or just store those the data, do time series visualization, do focus on different ways in which you can manage massive amounts of data at real time. And then also, obviously, once you have ingested your data and with massive scale, you want to make sure that the data that you can also command and control your devices back from the cloud. So there are a variety of different things that we are focused on that really powers the next generation of customers. So we have obviously on the non-cloud, non-IoT side, there are hundreds and thousands of customers, 1 million active customers actually, from Netflix, large enterprises, to Airbnbs and of the world. But on the IoT side especially, there are some amazing customers that are currently developing on top of that. They range from GE to Dropcam and others of the world that kind of are interested in learning different ways of storing data, managing data, processing data, and then also connecting your devices back to the cloud.
Thank you. Hi. So I work at Marvell Semiconductors. This is the value many people know about Marvell. But when I joined Marvell about 7, 8 years back, people were wondering, why would I go to a comic company? So, but Marvell is a pretty large semiconductor company. It powers a lot of consumer electronics devices. And so about 6 or 7 years back, I personally started looking at what we now call Internet of Things. At that time, nobody cared about Internet of Things. And the idea was very, very simple. If you could find a way to get everything connected at very low cost and low complexity, then the world will find a way to make use of that. And a few years later, that is quite true. So we are a semiconductor company. We make chips. The idea is that we're trying to make chips that are optimized for making the endpoints, the client devices, or the things in the Internet of Things world. And so the approach we've taken is to integrate wireless technologies with microcontrollers to create SoCs that are highly integrated and provide the base platform And then on top of that base platform, we provide a software stack with the idea that the OEMs and the device manufacturers shouldn't have to be spending a lot of time at the low layers of wireless technologies, at communication layers, and so on, and should be worrying more about not how to move the bits around, but once they figure out how to move the bits around, what do they do with it? What are the innovative features they put in the device, what services, what applications they can build? And we've been very successful. We have many large OEMs making all kinds of things. They're the traditional manufacturers making appliances, air conditioners, thermostats, light bulbs, you name it. And there's, it's also very gratifying to see entrepreneurs coming up with completely new product categories or reinventing, sort of existing product categories and bringing out products into the market.
Hi. So I represent WSO2, but I started TiEcon when we invented Publish Subscribe. One of the things that is common across all of the protocols for the IoT world is that they're all Publish Subscribe. That's really exciting for me personally that this is happening. And one of the things I loved about the business at TiEcon and what is really fascinating about WSO2 is that in the integration business, we're always dealing with the new stuff. We have to integrate whatever. And so the fact that there are all these different protocols and all these fights is actually the best of the worlds for us because it just means you have to integrate more. So it's just fantastic. But I know it'll settle out in some ways. They can't have 25 different radio protocols and all these things. It's going to have to settle out. But we provide that integration platform, and that's really where I think the super value. What we learned at TiEcon, what I think we've seen happen, is what we call the network effect, which was once we put the publish subscribe framework into an enterprise, we didn't realize how people started to build value on top of it. Now, who imagined that if you just took 2 cell phones, you could build a $40 billion business ordering taxis? You don't know where billions and billions of devices attached to the cloud and to the in this IoT will go, but you need to be able to integrate. You need publish subscribe because you need the ability to to discover new devices easily. You need that discovery protocols. That's an issue. A lot of these protocols that we're still fighting with 4 companies about. What's the discovery protocols going to be? But as we move into that network effect and we start seeing that integration, we need to decide on what are the integration tools. How do we make all this stuff work together, and how does it play? And we're starting the game. We're just starting. We actually haven't gotten to a lot of the issues that come up. But WSO10, a year ago, put all of our software on Raspberry Pis. And there are companies building drones, building cars today, and for instance, Trimble is using our technology in its IoT construction business. We are finding that WSO2, which reimagines the whole publish subscribe and the whole messaging framework, API management, everything as IoT, as new technology in the cloud, is perfectly positioned. So for me, it's like doing TiEcon over again. It's a very exciting time. We're growing very fast, and it's an exciting thing to see in the industry, the evolution of publish subscribe and all of this technology towards what could be a really exciting future. So.
I'm Geetha Dabir. I work for Intel Corporation. I actually have a strong software background, and people may be wondering, what are you doing in Intel? It's a chip manufacturing company. I came from Cisco, and the reason why I joined Intel was I was passionate about IoT, and Intel has a lot of assets that are valuable for IoT. We have the Wind River operating system. We have the McAfee security. If anybody has been involved with IoT, the success of IoT really depends upon how strong a security system we are going to have in terms of the ability for data to be sent in from the sensor to the cloud. So security is an extremely important element in all of these, especially in the industrial, healthcare, oil and gas companies. Imagine your healthcare records not being secure. It's not going to work. And things have to travel all the way from the sensors at the end to the cloud, or whether it be processed at the cloud or whether it be processed at the gateways at the appropriate location. So Intel has not only do we have assets in those areas, we do have some very strong chipsets that enable us to get into the low-end market. We obviously can definitely do better, and that's the challenge, and that's the interesting part. And at the same time, we are also working, or we have certain platforms that we have built on top, which includes some of the, not only creation, we have created basically 3 levels of platforms. The very first one is just your bare metal platform. That is your gateways with your operating system, security software, on top of which you could build all of your applications on top of it. And that's your standard embedded environment system. Then we also have created on top of that a thin layer of what we call as the edge application platform. And what the main benefit of this is that it allows for communication stacks to be layered on top. So you can consider it as a plug-and-play capabilities, or a platform that allows for plug-and-play capabilities to add any of the other protocols, whether you're doing ZigBee, you're doing 6LoWPAN, or if you're doing BACnet, any of these protocols, it allows you to easily plug in these protocols, and at the same time provides the communication to the various different clouds, including our friends Amazon Cloud. So that is one layer of platform, so that's your second layer of platform. On top of that, Intel has invested very heavily into a large amount of analytics, but specifically triggered on specific analytics. So you're talking about things associated with understanding the actual platform, the hardware elements, what's going on, so analytics associated with that. And also analytics in association with things like motors, determining failure of a motor, what you call as predictive maintenance. So we have another layer of platform which we are calling as the intelligent analytics platform that provides a large range of algorithms. So Intel Labs is one of our big assets inside of Intel that produces having a large number of PhDs and extremely smart people who keep producing things, and we need to figure out how to monetize. So that's my fun part, that I have all these assets that I can utilize to do this job. So I pick them up and I figure out the way to monetize them, and we've been able to create a platform associated with all these algorithms, which includes machine learning, trending, analysis, all these things. And we've created the intelligent analytics platform. And besides that, now it allows all the entrepreneurs to actually write various different analytics solutions. At the same time, we're also producing sensor platforms of a similar nature, which is using our Viper's operating system from Wind River, which is the very low end, that allows the connectivity from the sensor to the gateway all the way up to the cloud. We leave the cloud to the experts in the cloud arena, which includes IBM, Amazon, Google, all. We expect a lot of competitors there. And we enable ourselves in capturing the platform functionality.
I'm with MediaTek, and many of you will have heard Johan Lodenius, the keynote for this afternoon, describe the background of our company. Just a refresher, we have so many consumer electronics products and office products that surround the end users, and that's an excellent starting point for a company like ourselves, one of the leading fabless semiconductor companies in the industry, to embark on developing the IoT frontier along with the entrepreneurs, similar to yourselves, and the partners, also similar to yourselves, to combine our forces and bring the new solutions into the hands of the end users. And so to achieve that purpose, MediaTek created MediaTek Labs. That's the organization that I run within the company. It's a global operation. We do have an office in Bangalore, a new team, to help work with Indian entrepreneurs to exploit those opportunities. We've also unleashed a portfolio of developer-centric products, Linkit One, Linkit Assist, and Linkit Connect. Each one of them addresses a different segment in the IoT space. Linkit One and Linkit Assist can be used for wearable or IoT products, appliances for the office or for the home. Linkit One is targeted specifically at the maker audience, Arduino. And there are, many developers around the globe now using Linkit One, even in commercial applications, and they're going through our supply chain of hand-picked partners to get their products prototyped, get the PCB layouts done, and eventually go into production, as long as they continue to get their funding. And Linkit Assist is the same product. Basically, it's based on the MT2502. It's a small, highly integrated chipset about half the size of this pinky fingernail that includes cellular capability and Bluetooth, along with a wide range of telephony features, something you might expect on a high-end feature phone, making phone calls, sending SMSs, browsing the internet, video camera, still picture camera, MP3 player, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that power in a small chip, that makes it ideal for a wearable or in a very small IoT device. And we have a hardware kit set up for all three of those products, Linkit One, Linkit Assist, Linkit Connect. So you can get these hardware kits from our partners, attach your sensors, design your UI, create your feature sets, and then we have a cloud service sandbox also through MediaTek Labs, which is a free sandbox offering for developers. So you create your account in Labs, you can access all the documents, you already have an account to our sandbox. You can create profiles of operation around your device, whether it's an in-home product or a wearable or an office product. You can store your data there. You can have your dashboards. You can control the product through your phone and also access your dashboard through your phone or through your laptop or tablet. So it's a comprehensive environment to support those developers. And then for the Linkit Connect, which is basically a very small system on a chip that you can easily Wi-Fi connect an appliance in your home or a smart plug or a smart lamp, a smart bulb, through Wi-Fi to the internet and control that remotely as well. So Assist and Connect, those two products are for professional developers. So we go through like the Eclipse IDE and Windows environments. Those are the platforms we use to support our developers. Thank you.
All right, so I had prepared a bunch of easy questions for the panelists, but I didn't have this tablet. And you guys are mean, and so I'm going to ask you a question that you are not prepared to answer here, I'm pretty sure, which is, can the participants pick a platform they would use to develop IoT solutions outside of their home platform? Okay. Anybody? Any takers?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Can the participants pick a platform? In other words, you guys each have your own platform. If you had to pick another company's platform outside of your home platform, what would you pick? Not a very easy question to answer, I'm sure.
I can take it.
Yes.
Try to.
And you don't all have to answer, just,
Yeah, yeah. So IoT cannot exist without the cloud. And the reason is that it's all about how much value you provide for your data and how much value you provide to your end user customer about what you can do with the data itself. And so regardless of the platform, regardless of the hardware, regardless of the operating system or of the protocol that you're using, once you have the hardware in place, it's very important that you continue to provide sustainable value to your customers through innovative, trending and machine learning and other interesting ways to continue to do that. So absolutely, for AWS, you can either use a raw compute, our Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud service, which is plain virtual machines in the cloud, and put your own software on top of it and actually compete with us in our space as well. It's perfectly okay to do so. At the same time, you can use our higher-end products, which are going to make higher up the stack, that will make it extremely easy for you to get started quickly. But again, you have to use it in a certain particular way to do it. So you can either build a product on top of us, and also, so there are companies like Netflix and Airbnb and others who are building on top of AWS with the mindset for massive amounts of storage and compute that they don't have to leverage. For IoT perspective, platforms, it's very important to understand from a hardware side. Once the software can be replaced very easily, but once you deploy smart meters around the entire region, geographic regions, the physical units that are getting deployed, it's extremely difficult to redeploy and change those when you come up with a new version. But when it comes to the cloud, obviously the element is that you put sensors on the ground and put all the intelligence in the cloud, and the value proposition of the cloud is much more higher than the other, than deploying and changing the hardware that's already out there. So this is just a way that I feel it's agnostic, and it's really any hardware can leverage.
I'll take one more. Geetha, do you want to answer?
Well, I want to challenge the answer from him on everything needs to go to the cloud. So
Okay,
it's
hold
not
on.
relevant to the. It's not specifically relevant to the topic or the question you're asking. Sending everything to the cloud seems okay when you're doing it very, very occasionally or rarely. Bandwidth is expensive, and also the more devices that you have to connect to the cloud, the more payments you have to make on a per device basis to AT&T. Even if you give away the cloud, it can be expensive, and we are facing this on a regular basis. We have building with HVACs that are having sensors that detect the energy operational how it's operating, so that they can control the energy environment in the building, which generally saves them hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. But having today we have, for example, each of these HVACs communicating with the cloud, and that's an expensive proposition. So they really are looking for more of a solution where we have a gateway right there in the building that is providing enough information, because this is streaming data that's producing on a constant basis, on an ongoing basis, that allows them to operate at the lower bandwidth rate. What happens with AT&T, with all these businesses, is they normally get charged at the highest operating bandwidth rate as opposed to the lower, or the average even. So this becomes important for them to reduce the amount of bandwidth that they will actually utilize, and the number of HVACs that actually connects from their rooftop over to the cloud. So they need to reduce it, which means they want to have more action occurring there at the building to be able to recognize and act upon. So analytics and all the operations that need to occur to make the building efficient needs to be there.
You're absolutely right about that. I was going to chime in a little bit. There's a strong need. I think it's not just about bandwidth costs and data. I think it's more about just that it makes sense for you to do things locally when you can. One of the principal advantages of the publish-subscribe paradigm and this whole approach is that devices locally can even speak to each other. They have a mesh technology that allows them to pass messages locally to each other and to use each other to help deliver messages. So I think there is a logic to putting everything in the cloud, but it also introduces the idea that what if you don't have access to the cloud for some reason? Does that mean your entire building and your entire infrastructure comes to a halt? You have to have and also it's costly. So to some extent, there's going to be a staging process where you probably have stuff happening at a local level, and that's aggregated, delivered, maybe compressed or whatever, brought to a higher level where some analytics at that level, delivers value that's appropriate at that level. I think you will see not everything is in the cloud, but still there will be always connectivity to the cloud. So I think ultimately the AWS is correct that you're going to want connectivity to the cloud ultimately, because most people still want the ability to still access remotely through the cloud.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, I have another question, which I'd like to give preference to the folks who haven't spoken yet, but this is a general question, which is, do any of you provide your platform/partner with IoT accelerator programs?
Yeah, we have a program called Partner Connect. So as developers are completing their concepts and pulling together their funding from the VCs, we have a supply chain dedicated to those products that we offer, and we screen and prepare those developers to make sure that they don't waste their time and money before they enter the channel or jump from one supply chain link to the next. So that's an accelerator program. We save months of time, typically in each step, where they're already prepared when they are connected with one of our partners to just talk about business and options versus having to redo things or start over, because they were not going about it the right way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we don't have a formal program, but we do work with a number of startups coming from various sources to Marvell, and that is similar things, right? They're often two guys in a garage type situation, and we help them with our sort of ecosystem of partners, everywhere from module vendors to cloud partners to ODMs to contract manufacturers and so on, and as needed, right? So help them guide through the entire process of bringing a product to the market.
Great. Let me ask another hard one. And I'm going to just read it exactly as it was SMS'd to me. Obviously, there's no good spell checker, but where is the value B in the IoT platform? Device management, business analytics, or applications?
I think the answer is all of the above in the end, right? If you don't have devices, there's not a whole lot of analytics you can do around it, right? So, there's value at every layer, and there's money to be made at every layer of the sort of ecosystem.
I can answer that a little differently. The real value comes when you can show the value to the user in terms of what they are going to actually benefit from it. A typical example is in an oil and gas company where they are actually doing the drilling. They have these devices that actually detect as to how it should move, whether it's a little bit right, a little bit left, and there's a lot of technology and sensors that are associated with it. And today, they actually collect all that data, send that all over or by a plane to somewhere, a helicopter, not a plane, and send it to the central location. They'll do all the analysis, bring it back the next day and tell you. So the long enough that these devices sit there doing nothing, the more they have a loss. They can't operate effectively and efficiently. So the more efficiency you can get with these operations, the better it is. And for that, analytics and collection of that data, sensor information, and processing, and how they can utilize the IoT solutions and showing the value to the customer, actually, that's how it needs to be done. It has to be brought together as an integrated offering, and there's honestly no one company that has everything. Not even IBM or anybody has everything today. It has
Marc?
to be collaborated.
Marc, go ahead.
Yeah, I would answer it this way, that there are going to be many segments in IoT, segments, entities or individuals, and for each segment, you may have a different preference. I could say for the consumer segment, applications, the ability to personalize, customize for your home, adding social connectivity for some applications, or easily adding security to the home, those kinds of things would be extremely valuable for the consumers and for some small businesses. For device management, if you're running a large enterprise or a construction outfit or a big industrial plant and you have thousands and thousands of IoT devices spread throughout your facility, you're going to want device management, managing the software, monitoring the status, changing the profiles, easily managing the profiles, light bulbs, door locks, industrial robots, et cetera. And then, for the analytics, that kind of bleeds into many areas. The enterprise will care about analytics, but then those companies that evolve within the IoT industry that are going to help monetize or subsidize cost based on analytics to offset the cost of devices or services by taking that data and be able to reuse that data to generate new businesses, to add convenience, security, personalization, for all those segments. So it's a segment story, basically.
Yeah, I have a strong opinion about this, which is I think the value of IoT is going to be created by the integration, by the value of the integration of these devices. A single device by itself doesn't do it. I did IoT in my house many years ago, and the next house I never did it. It was just not worth it. What is making it my new house, what I'm finding exciting is integrating the devices and the information sources in the cloud and stuff so that I can do really intelligent things. And I own a Tesla, and I love the speech by the previous guy about his Tesla. And I love my Tesla, and one of the things that's so amazing about it is how well integrated it is. It knows when I approach my house that I have to lift my suspension and be at a tilt when I get there, so it lifts my car up before I get to my house so I can park without having to push a bunch of buttons. And that kind of smartness is what I think is going to sell IoT. Then after we have this smartness, and some of that smartness is going to depend on the analytics and things, but after you have that smartness, then people buy it, then we get to, there's going to be all these added values of, wow, we can really leverage that data intelligently, we can do all kinds of cool things with it. But I think to get this thing to kickstart, we need to have the value of the integration of these devices mean something. It's got to be valuable to have them.
Great. I have a question from the audience that probably a lot of you care about, which is, how can a startup monetize using your platforms? And will there be a marketplace for IoT apps?
So I can just try. So there's absolutely tremendous opportunity in monetization for IoT. And I'll give you a few examples. If you focus on user experience, you can basically focus on solving the customer's problem. Obviously, you will see that there is tremendous value in that the customer is willing to pay. For example, Dropcam if you just focus on and compare it with a surveillance camera, it's not really adding any value. But when you actually see the value of it and provide a great user experience that you can see your video on any phone, on anywhere, wherever you are, right there and there, you see that the value is much more higher than it. And then people will be ready to pay for it. So if you focus on user experience, and if you focus on the right level of understanding what your customer really needs, whether it's for that particular horizontal or that vertical, it's really where that monetization would come in. The next side of the things is that everybody is talking about billions of devices that will be connected in 2020. I like to say, Internet of Things is going to be bigger than the internet, and that's true to some extent. But the real value will be when you have these massive amounts of devices connected, and each of these devices, as devices grow, their connections and the data is growing. You will have so much amount of data that you don't know what you can do with it. And to earlier point, integration as well as data, mashing up two data sets to really drive some real value to the customer is going to really provide a lot of benefits from a monetization perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Apple, I'll just be short, but Apple, when they created the App Store, 600,000 apps in 2 years. I just imagine the kinds of apps you can create off of all these IoT devices and the data. It's huge. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
I think there's plenty of opportunities for startups. One of the things that is now possible is hardware startups are a real thing now. You could be two guys in a garage and literally create a hardware startup. But you have to figure out, not just make just another thing, right? You have to find an opportunity to make some new, if you're making it in the consumer context, come up with a new context, come up with a new concept, and you might find a good market for it. There's enough platforms and help available to go from, basically nothing to a pretty good startup. And Nest is a good example, Dropcam is a good example, August, and there's tons of these examples. If you get outside the consumer side, you have to look at the industries. There's inefficiencies in every single industry which IoT can solve. And if you understand the inefficiencies in that industry, there's plenty of opportunities to monetize.
I believe the standards are also just evolving, and that is also an opportunity for startups to take a look at and build on top of those standards that is just evolving.
Yeah, I was in London yesterday speaking at a similar event called the Digital Shoreditch, and there were, it's a similar event, thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs from across England coming in, to learn about IoT, learn about the new digital evolution, and it really depends on the entrepreneur, on the entrepreneur having a vision and being able to pursue that with the right partner support and the right platforms. I would say at this stage, looking at all of the innovation, there has been a democratization of innovation with digital 3D printing and all of the ease of access to tools, software platforms like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, et cetera, et cetera. There's just no excuse anymore for a developer to be able to pursue at least the first several steps, before they need to go get funding or get additional support from a bigger partner. So definitely the opportunity is ripe globally.
All right, I think we only have one more minute, so we have time for 5 one-word answers, okay? So here is my final question, which is this really a battle, or is it more like cooperation that we need to make IoT successful?
Cooperation.
Okay.
I agree. I think more than one word. But to kind of say, it's not going to be one player wins all. It's going to be this is a huge market, and this is everybody has an opportunity to differentiate here, and so I would say it's definitely going to be cooperation and management.
Okay. What one word?
I think it's co-opetition.
Co-opetition. Okay.
Yeah, cooperation sounds like a good idea there. Yeah.
Marc?
OIC.
OIC.
Should I say more? OIC is a consortium with Intel, Cisco, GE, MediaTek, and Samsung. It's cooperation between leading players in the industry that are trying to make it easier for developers to create secure, interoperable, complementary products. That's cooperation.
All right, that's fantastic. Okay, please give a warm round of applause for our fabulous panelists.